They told you to chase success. What if the real secret was to become it? In the grand tapestry of this world, some souls are endowed with a special frequency, a sacred gift to perceive the pulse of their era and foresee the echoes of the future. Have you ever felt that you are different, as if you can see through the dark currents beneath the surface of reality? Have you ever felt the sting of solitude, or even been misunderstood, for perceiving truths that others cannot yet see? If these words resonate deep within your heart, then I invite you to stay, for the story we are about to share is for souls just like yours. This is not merely the tale of a writer, it is a mirror reflecting our own inner struggles and our path to awakening. We are about to journey into the life of a soul named George Orwell, whose very existence became a profound allegory, a beacon lit for all future pathfinders. If you feel this connection, I encourage you to light up that small heart, subscribe to our channel, and leave your mark in the comments below. A simple, "I understand," or the number 111, will let us know that on this journey of awakening, we are not alone. For it is only when we recognize each other's presence that we can unite into an unstoppable force for good. George Orwell, a name that carries the weight of prophecy. Yet, this was not the identity he was born with, but the spiritual armor he chose for himself. He, born in 1903, came into this world in a place called Bengal, a land that was then part of the vast, setting sun of the British Empire. His given name, Eric Arthur Blair, held the quiet hopes of an ordinary family. But his destiny was anything but ordinary. His soul had already charted a radically different course. His later choice of the name George Orwell was more than a simple pseudonym. It was a sacred act of severance. It was a conscious decision to separate his earthly, personal identity from the timeless, universal message he was destined to deliver. This was a holy sacrifice, a self-effacement undertaken to become a clear vessel for a much larger truth. His upbringing was a crucible of contradictions, a carefully designed alchemical furnace for his soul. He described himself as belonging to the lower upper middle class, a brilliant turn of phrase that captures the profound duality at his core. In his bloodline flowed the aspirations and tastes of a genteel past, the fading light of an aristocracy, yet his family's financial reality forced him to taste the bitterness of poverty from an early age. This internal conflict did not tear him apart. Instead, it gifted him with a unique, twofold vision. It allowed him to understand both the arrogance of the powerful and the quiet suffering of the downtrodden. He could keenly sense the invisible fractures in the social edifice, the decay and hypocrisy hidden beneath a veneer of civility. It was this unique background that tuned his soul's frequency, enabling him to receive the authentic signals from every corner of society, from the highest echelons to the most forgotten depths. His path to awakening began with the disillusionment of the system. Like many souls entrusted with a special mission, he was first placed on the most conventional and celebrated path. With his exceptional intellect, he gained entry into England's most prestigious preparatory schools. Yet, within those hallowed halls of academia, he felt not a sense of honor, but a suffocating spiritual oppression. His soul was in rebellion, struggling against a system where knowledge was being tamed, stripped of its wildness, and forged into a tool of the establishment. And so, he made his first defiant choice. He renounced the well-trodden road to university. In the eyes of the world, this was a foolish move, but on the blueprint of his soul, it was an essential step. He sought the raw truth of life, not the sanitized doctrines of textbooks. Destiny then guided him to the Far East, to Burma. He became a colonial police officer, a cog at the very forefront of the imperial machine, forced to enforce the very rules his soul had begun to question. These 5 years were the dark night of his soul, a period of intense inner torment and moral reckoning. He witnessed firsthand the abuse of power, the distortion of human nature, and the crushing weight of a vast, impersonal system on the individual's spirit. This experience was a trial by fire. It burned away his last illusions about authority and revealed to him the true face of oppression. Finally, with profound resolve, he resigned. He took off the uniform that symbolized the empire's power, and in doing so, he broke the chains that had shackled his own soul. He chose to return to the bottom, to the gritty streets of Paris and London, seeking the most unvarnished, authentic light of humanity in the humble roles of a dishwasher and a bookstore clerk. He discovered that in the forgotten corners of society, amongst the ordinary people disdained by the self-proclaimed intellectuals, lay the most resilient life force and the purest forms of human decency. He began to write for them, using his pen to give a voice to the silent majority. The great irony, of course, is that in this very process, he himself became the kind of intellectual he had once scorned, but with a crucial difference. His wisdom did not spring from an ivory tower. It grew from the rich soil of lived experience, from a deep and abiding compassion for suffering. He was a prophet who had walked among the people, and his ideas carried the warmth of the world. If his early life laid the foundation for his mission, the Spanish Civil War was the thunderclap that ignited his soul's flame. In 1936, he traveled to that war-torn land as a journalist, intending to be an objective observer of history. But his soul was summoned by a higher power, a force he called common decency. He put down his pen and picked up a rifle, joining the fight against fascism as a volunteer. If you had asked me why I had joined the militia, he later wrote, I should have answered, to fight against fascism. And if you had asked me what I was fighting for, I should have answered, common decency. This simple statement was his soul's vow, a testament to a compassion that transcended all political lines. In that war, a sniper's bullet tore through his throat, and he came face to face with his own mortality. This near-death experience was a shamanic initiation, giving him an even more profound understanding of life and lies. But what shook him more than the physical wound was what he witnessed in the aftermath, the wanton desecration of truth. He saw that in the newspapers, history was no longer what had happened, but a narrative to be fabricated according to political expediency. He saw great battles reported where there had been no fighting, and complete silence where hundreds of men had been killed. He saw heroic soldiers slandered as cowards and traitors, while men who had never seen a shot fired were hailed as the heroes of imaginary victories. In that moment, Orwell experienced a profound awakening. He realized that the most terrifying crisis of his time was not one of armed conflict, but of the collective abandonment of objective truth. He understood that when a society gives up on the very idea that history can be truthfully written, the path to servitude is already paved. He saw with terrifying clarity that when truth becomes subjective, when it can be bent to serve any ideology, it ceases to be truth and becomes a mere instrument of power. This degradation of truth, he realized, was the gateway to totalitarianism. He sensed a dreadful, low-frequency energy spreading across the world, one that sought to sever humanity's connection to higher wisdom and universal law by controlling thought and corrupting language. This energy was the sole virus of totalitarianism. From that point on, Orwell's sacred mission was clear: to elevate political writing into an art form. This was not a pursuit of literary fame, but the forging of a spiritual weapon sharp enough to pierce the veil of lies and defend the sanctity of truth. He would use his words to expose the deceptions concealed by power and to awaken the souls slumbering in a fog of propaganda. Every work he produced from then on was a testament to this mission, a deeply felt and sorrowful warning to all of humanity. He was determined to show the world the dark abyss into which it would fall if language was corrupted, if thought was imprisoned, and if truth itself was monopolized. Throughout our lives, some of the most profound books we will ever encounter are those we have already read, their deeper wisdom waiting to be rediscovered. And many other books that could completely alter the course of our lives, are ones we may never even come across. Both revisiting the classic, instrumental books of our past and discovering new ones that can further shape our perception are vital practices. They are essential for expanding our understanding and sharpening our awareness of ourselves and the world. However, with a near infinite ocean of options, it can feel overwhelming and time-consuming to navigate this journey successfully. This is where the divine support of this video's sponsor, Blinkist, comes in. Blinkist doesn't just summarize books. It distills their very essence, offering you the core insights and sparks of inspiration in a concentrated form. With over 7,500 non-fiction books and podcasts, Blinkist beautifully curates and breaks down titles into approximately 15-minute summaries and key takeaways, which can be either read or listened to. Imagine being able to instantly refresh your connection with the warnings in Orwell's 1984 or Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. You can dive into the rise of totalitarianism in modern Russia with Masha Gessen's The Future is History, or explore the metaphorical soil fertile for other political and social phenomena. Blinkist's personalized recommendations act as a wise guide, leading you to new titles that resonate with your soul's frequency. By using the link in the description or scanning the QR code, you can begin a 7-day free trial and receive an exclusive 40% off Blinkist's annual premium membership. This is more than a subscription. It is a powerful investment in your own spiritual growth and intellectual awakening. And Animal Farm was the first sharp scalpel Orwell wielded. Published in 1945, this short novella, with its deceptively simple, fable-like surface, contained a core of immense weight and profundity. On the surface, it is the story of a group of farm animals who, inspired by a wise old pig, overthrow their oppressive human farmer to establish a utopian society where all animals are equal. But this is only the beginning of their saga. Through this allegory, Orwell masterfully parallels the tragic arc of the Russian Revolution. The animals represent the oppressed masses, the human farmer, the decadent old regime. Their revolution is initially fueled by noble, idealistic passion. But as power transfers to new leaders, two pigs named Snowball and Napoleon, seeds of corruption are sown. The initial dream begins to decay under the corrosive influence of power. Napoleon, the more cunning and ruthless of the two, eventually uses brute force to expel the idealistic Snowball and seizes absolute control. What follows is a descent into a tyranny even darker than before. The pigs, the new ruling class, indulge in special privileges, rewrite history to suit their narrative, and brutally oppress the other animals. The sacred commandments of their revolution, painted on the barn wall, are secretly altered one by one, until only a single, paradoxical law remains. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. In the haunting final scene, the other animals peer through a window to see the pigs dining and playing cards with their human neighbors, and they can no longer tell which is pig and which is man. This chilling conclusion serves as a timeless warning. Any revolution, no matter how noble its initial ideals, is doomed to become a new form of tyranny if it lacks checks on power and a vigilant awareness of the shadows within our own nature. The genius of Animal Farm lies in its ability to transcend its specific historical context. It functions as a near-universal oracle, revealing the timeless patterns of how power operates and the ever-present human vulnerabilities to greed, selfishness, and betrayal. It shows us that the roots of tyranny lie not just in a single evil leader, but in collective gullibility, the manipulation of memory, and the insidious corruption of language. Orwell, using a story simple enough for a child to understand, delivered one of the most profound lessons in political philosophy. This is why the work has endured, resonating with a powerful and prophetic truth across all cultures and generations. 4 years after Animal Farm shook the world, as the flame of his own life was beginning to flicker, George Orwell summoned his remaining strength to bequeath to humanity his grandest and most terrifying prophecy, 1984. This work was no longer an allegory. It was a chillingly realistic portrait of a potential future. The novel's protagonist, Winston Smith, exists in the superstate of Oceania, a world where the past is perpetually rewritten, and thought itself has become a crime, known as thought crime. The ruler of Oceania is a mysterious, omnipresent figure known as Big Brother, whose image is everywhere, accompanied by the ominous slogan, "Big Brother is watching you." Citizens are under constant surveillance through telescreens, two-way devices that broadcast party propaganda, while simultaneously monitoring their every word and gesture. A secret organization, the Thought Police, moves unseen among the populace, ready to arrest and vaporize anyone who harbors independent thoughts. In this oppressive reality, language itself is systematically attacked and re-engineered. A new official language, Newspeak, is designed with the explicit purpose of narrowing the range of thought, making heresy literally thought crime impossible by eliminating the words to express it. The party's slogans are the ultimate expression of this mental and spiritual warfare. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. This relentless indoctrination forces citizens to engage in a mental process called doublethink, the ability to hold two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously, and to accept both of them. Winston, a low-level worker in the Ministry of Truth, the department responsible for falsifying historical records, still harbors a flicker of rebellion, a yearning for truth and freedom. He begins to keep a secret diary, an act of defiance against the suffocating regime. But his struggle is doomed from the start. He is inevitably captured and taken to the Ministry of Love, the center for torture and re-education, where he is subjected to unimaginable physical and psychological torment. In the novel's devastating conclusion, Winston's spirit is completely broken. His rebellious will is extinguished. As he sits in a cafe, gazing at a poster of Big Brother, he feels a sense of victory over himself. He now loves Big Brother. The profound sadness and utter despair of this ending have left an indelible mark on countless readers. Like Animal Farm, 1984 achieved immediate and massive success, and it cemented the term Orwellian as a permanent fixture in our vocabulary. This adjective is now universally used to describe any condition that is destructive to the welfare of a free and open society, particularly those involving mass surveillance, the suppression of truth, and the manipulation of language by a powerful entity. The great irony, however, is that the term Orwellian is itself often misunderstood, misrepresented, and co-opted by various political factions to attack their opponents. It is crucial to understand that Orwell himself was not, as some have misinterpreted, a critic of socialism. He was, in his own words, a democratic socialist. His life's work was a passionate crusade against totalitarianism in all its forms, whether it came from the right or the left. Every line of serious work that I have written since 1936 has been written, directly or indirectly, against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism, as I understand it, he declared. He was equally critical of unchecked capitalism, believing it also led to oppressive concentrations of power and the suffering of ordinary people. Therefore, those who invoke Orwell to defend a system he criticized, or to attack the very political philosophy he espoused, are engaging in a profoundly, and ironically, Orwellian act of their own. They are twisting his words to serve their own ideological agenda. Ultimately, when we strip away the layers of political labels and ideological warfare, Orwell's legacy is a timeless and universal warning. It is a warning not against a specific political party, but against a shadow that resides within the human soul itself. He showed us that tyranny is not just a chapter in a history book, it is a perennial virus in the human condition. It is a state we can all slip into, individually and collectively, whenever we abdicate our responsibility to think critically, whenever we become complacent in the face of lies, and whenever we trade our freedom for a sense of security. Tyranny is not a part of history, it is a part of humanity. Our humanity is always on the brink of slipping into it, of chasing the rabbit of hope into dystopian wonderlands. Orwell realized this. He understood that tyranny is always possible and can occur even in a society in which the intentions are noble, or in a society in which the conditions appear prosperous and democratic. Perhaps our only hope, in a way that slightly counters Orwell's own view, is realizing that, in fact, there is no ultimate, objective truth, at least that we have access to, and that subjective truth is likely all there is, and all there will ever be for us. We must accept this as a consequence of our condition of ignorance and limitation, our fragmented perceptions and dissenting values. But perhaps, when we take this realization to the extreme, we realize that all individuals, all groups, all organizations, and all nations are fallible and wrong. There is no one idea or truth to follow or believe in. Perhaps in doing this, we burn up all the fuel of totalitarianism, And at the bottom of the tank, we find the collective realization of simple decency, the kind in which Orwell advocated for, the kind in which we arrive at mutually beneficial, intersubjective truths, based on humility and compassion toward the differences and malleabilities of humanity across time and space, rather than an ultimate rightness and finality right now. Of course, this is far, far easier said than done. But in the words of Orwell, when referring to the conditions of 1984, the moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you. That responsibility lies not in the hands of some distant leader or abstract ideology, but within each and every one of us. Right here, right now.